Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1.
Range is hot. Lock and load. It's time for the Gun Rack with your hosts, Joey and Drew.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Gun Rack, Sonoran Desert Institute's official firearms podcast. And no, this is not Joey Upper, this is Drew Poplin. Today I'm filling in as host. Don't worry everybody, Joey will be back next week. So that goodbye was not a permanent goodbye. But yeah, I'm filling in as host. Obviously this is a new experience for all of us. But you know what? I say let's have fun with it. So let's sit back, relax, and enjoy ourselves, shall we? We have an interesting episode for you this week. This news came out last week, and it is that Ruger has brought back the Marlin 1895 guide gun, which is very exciting. Can't wait to talk about that. But before we get into that, it is time for some Drew's Clues. So shout out to Seth and Eli, again, who both answered last week's Drew's Clues correctly. Last week, the answer was the Ruger Blackhawk, the Chicago Blackhawks. That's Patrick Kane's team. And I don't know if any of y'all do watch hockey. If you haven't and you're thinking about it, I would encourage you to go to a game in person first. Honestly, I've been a couple times, and even now, sometimes I have a hard time watching hockey on the TV. But in person, it's one of the most fun times I've had going to something like that. Anyway, for this week, this submachine gun was designed by Gregory Chapagin in 1941. I'm sorry if I butchered his name. It has a rate of fire of 1,250 rounds per minute, and it has the nickname Papasha. I don't know why I went Italian on that. Obviously, it's like, Eastern European. I'll work on my accent, people. But if you think you know what firearm I'm referring to, please, we'd love to hear from you. We love it when you guys participate. Send in your answer to marketing@sdi.edu. And speaking of SDI, let's talk about SDI real quick. SDI is a accredited institute by the Distance Education Accrediting Commission, otherwise known as the DEAC. And if you're interested at all learning about either firearms technology or unmanned technology, then SDI might be the place for you. So what can you do to find out more? Go to our website. It's www.sdi.edu, and there you can see our different program options, really digging into the different courses and seeing what you'd be able to learn. We offer an Associates of Firearms Technology program, and we also offer a certificate program. It's the Certificate of Firearms Technology Gunsmithing. I definitely encourage you to go to the website, check those out. And if you have any questions, don't be afraid to reach out to our admissions team. They're all wonderful, helpful, really nice people, and I'm sure they would love to hear from you. Again, that is www.sdi.edu. Check us out for more information. And without further ado, let's talk about the Marlin 1895 guide gun. And today, I got a couple sources. This news comes from guns.com, snipercountry.com, and thetruthaboutguns.com. Yeah, as many of you know, Ruger had actually bought Marlin a few years ago, and since then they've released a couple different models, but it was announced that they're bringing back the Marlin 1895 guide gun. Now, the guide gun was a bit of a staple for Marlin back in the day, pretty much up until 2020 when they were bought by Ruger. Now, whenever a company re-releases an older firearm, I think for me personally, there is almost a fear that either it won't capture the essence of the original version, or it's just not going to be good, and it's not going to be worth the money. However, I was looking at some of the specs and kind of, doing some comparisons between the older version and the newer version. And I have to say, I'm pretty impressed so far. So how about let's do that. Let's go into these comparisons. So caliber, they're both 45-70. Not much has changed there. The sights are the same. The overall length on the old one is 37 inches and the new one is 37.25. A little bit more about the length later. So the length of pool is virtually the same. The weight is virtually the same. I think there's 0.4 pounds more on the newer model. And the barrel length. So let's talk about the barrel length real quick. The original version was about 18.5 inches. Now it is 19.1 inches. You might be wondering, well, why did they do that? Well, this new version comes with a threaded barrel, making it a little bit more necessary to have a little bit of a longer barrel length. Aside from barrel length and now having a threaded barrel, there are some other differences. Some improvements, some I'd say I'm not the biggest fan of, but let's start with capacity. So the old 1895 guide gun, it had a capacity of four rounds. Now, with this newer version, you get 6 + 1. So that is, obviously, that's a lot. That's a nice upgrade, right? Even if it's by 2 or 3 rounds, it always helps to have extra capacity. As we've kind of said, over the last couple of years, capacity has really become the name of the game. Granted, that was more talking about concealed carry firearms. This, I would not suggest using this as a concealed carry weapon. I don't know, man. Maybe you got bigger pants than I do. Moving on to the forearm and stock. So, it used to be sort of a black walnut. It was a really pretty look. Now they are using a brown laminate, which I can understand why. And apparently the checkering on this is pretty crisp. So, I'll take their word at it, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just old. I'm an old soul who likes walnut stocks. I don't know. Now, as opposed to some of the other Marlin firearms that Ruger has released within the last year or so, those being more of a stainless steel finish, one thing I'm happy to see is that the finish on this is actually like a satin blued finish, which in my opinion looks a lot nicer. A little bit more vintage, a little bit more classic. So I was glad to see that. And with the original firearm, I read that there were some complaints about the position of the manual safety. If you're not aware, it is pretty much right underneath the hammer on the original. And the new version, hasn't really changed anything. It's still in the same place. The new version still in the same place as the old. So overall, Ruger hasn't changed much about this firearm from the original design. And for me, most of the changes that Ruger made to this firearm, which are minimal changes, but important ones, I feel like. I like it. I like a lot of the changes they brought. They brought extra capacity. They brought the threaded barrel while still keeping the spirit and integrity, seemingly. Again, I haven't fired this. I'm only going off of the specs and the pictures I've seen. It seems like they've kept the integrity of the original firearm intact while making some improvements that make the firearm better. Now, retail price. What's this going to cost you? So the MSRP on this bad boy is $1,149. Which, for someone like me who doesn't have a lot of money, not ideal. I'd love to shoot this bad boy. I'd love to, maybe purchase it. Right now, it's not in my wheelhouse, but its MSRP is about $200 to $250 less than what Ruger had already announced. Just for context, some of the other Marlin firearms that they brought back. So you had the Trapper and the Big Loop M1895. Those were both around $1,350 to $1,400. So this is a little bit cheaper. So that is nice. And guns.com leaves their article with a nice sentiment, and I think I would echo that. They say, quote, "Our suggestion to Ruger, bring back the 3.36 and 30-30 for around $500, and you got a deal." So yeah, that is something to keep an eye out for. If any of you end up firing this firearm, I would love to know what your thoughts are on it. Or, if you had the original, write into us. Give us your thoughts. I would love to find out more. Because personally, I always have a soft spot in my heart for lever action firearms. Something about them screams, I don't know, it just takes me back. It's almost a nostalgic thing, really. And you can be sure that here in, I want to say the near future, we'll see how things shake up, but I would love to purchase myself a lever action firearm. Those things are just chef's kiss. So that was the Marlin 1895 guide gun put out by Ruger. Now let's go and move on to some tales from the range, shall we? So this week I actually got this story from Reddit, who I think got it from 4chan. I'm not entirely sure of what the dynamic is, but either way, the poster on Reddit is user Atlas44. So Atlas, thank you, buddy. So this is taking place at an outdoor range. So this person's there, and then all of a sudden 3 guys turn up, and they're dressed like redcoats. And they get out and they start loading muskets and these flintlock pistols in costume, and everyone's already looking at them. And within about 5 minutes of them starting to fire, the range is useless now because of the amount of smoke everywhere. So they get kicked out, they get asked to leave. And so, of course, they drive off in their Range Rover playing Rule Britannia. One of them is even waving a British flag out the window and is laughing. And this poster says, "Everyone left at the range looked like I felt furious." Which, I don't know. Maybe I'm in the wrong for this, but I thought it was funny. I thought if someone did that at my local range, that'd be the craziest thing ever. But maybe he was just mad because they were the British and they weren't like dressed like Minutemen or something, or like Paul Revere. I don't know. But anyway, that was our tales from the range. And real quick before we go, I just want to talk to you one more time about SDI. If you are listening to this podcast and you're wondering why you should trust either Joey or I when we talk about the school, because it's the school's official podcast, I'd say that's fair. But I would definitely encourage you to go to our website, www.sdi.edu/news. When you go there will be a tab called Grad Features. And you click on that, you can actually hear from many of our former students about their time at SDI. And they're all really cool people. I've been able to chat with a lot of them, and they all have a bunch of great things to say about the school. So if you're wondering, and if you're interested in SDI, but you're not sure, I definitely encourage you to take the time, check that out, hear from some of our students about how SDI was able to help them get to where they are today. We're certainly proud of all of our graduates. So yes, check that out. It's www.sdi.edu/news, and then go to the Grad Features tab. Now, everyone, that's it. We made it. We survived. Once again, Joey will be back next week, and he will be full goblin mode, and you certainly do not want to miss that. I'm very excited to witness that. It's going to be epic. It's going to be fun, and hope you guys come back and join us for that. Now, to all you folks out there, love you. Hope you have a great week. Stay safe, and we will see you at the range.
Sonoran Desert Institute is an online school accredited by the DEAC. It is headquartered at 1555 West University Drive in Tempe, Arizona. For more information about how you can craft your firearms future, visit sdi.edu.